Our underreported stories segment tonight. Women in Iran are risking their lives and their safety to protest an oppressive, abusive, misogynistic regime, an Islamic theocracy. All the while, liberal feminists right here in America stay silent. So my question is, where is the solidarity with Iranian women? Women who are actually oppressed. Democrats might be fine with ignoring the lack of response from liberal feminists here at home, but I'm not. These liberal feminists claim to champion all women. But it seems like they've added yet another category of women, Iranian women, to their list of women that they refuse to stand up for. With me now, founder of ReaganBabe.com, Megan Barth. Megan, good to see you.
Great to see you too, Liz.
Megan, I mean, the question is very blunt here. Where are liberal feminists who claim that they're standing up for all women and not just women in America? We were told when the Women's March was happening last January that this was a worldwide movement. Where are liberal feminists standing up for these women who are shedding their hijabs, reclaiming their independence, and standing up to the patriarchy?
Well, they're silent, but let's break down. And by the way, props to you and bravo for engaging the anti-Semite leader of the Women's March, Linda Sarsour, yesterday on Twitter. And I noticed that she accused conservative women of selective outrage. Well, let's break down the selective outrage, shall we? It was liberal feminists who remained deafeningly silent when other liberal Democrat women accused Bill Clinton of sexual harassment, assault, and rape. It is now liberal feminists who remain silent as women are shedding their hijabs in Iran, risking their lives to do so, as liberal feminists cover up in the hijab, usually in an American flag. It is liberal feminists who remain silent as Harvey Weinstein was raping and assaulting women throughout Hollywood, New York, and London. And instead, we're giving standing ovations to pedophiles like Roman Polanski. So unless you are for abortion on demand, as a woman, you have no place in the liberal feminist movement of today.
Right, and speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up. So Linda Sarsour yesterday, she and I went back and forth a little bit on Twitter, and she almost immediately pivoted to abortion. She said, how dare you pretend to stand up for the Iranian women when you don't stand up here at home for women's rights to make choices about our own body. Of course, that's liberal rhetoric for abortion here. And it seems to me that, first of all, pivoting away from the topic because she has no defense from that, but it seems to me that that's the classic liberal feminist response these days, that you can't possibly claim that you champion women. You can't claim to be a woman either unless you want to champion the killing of over 400,000 unborn women that happen in our country every year. That's so ironic and logically inconsistent. I can't even fathom why someone would go there.
Right. So if a Muslim woman was wearing hijab and got an abortion, would that somehow be liberating and empowering for the women's movement? I mean, when you have no standards, then all you have are double standards. And Linda Sarsour demonstrated that yesterday on Twitter. Again, defaulting to the abortion. That is the sacred cow of the feminist movement. Let's not forget it was Nina Burleigh, who was a White House correspondent during the time when Bill Clinton was facing all these allegations, that said girls should get out their presidential knee pads and thank Bill Clinton for keeping the theocracy off their backs. So again, when you have no standards, you resort to double standards and make sure that your crutch is the abortion movement, which has transformed itself from, just the first trimester to the progressive movement of abortion on demand, which could be up into 9 months.
Right. It's not just supporting it, it's celebrating it. They're even going after people who say, listen, I'm personally pro-life, but politically, I want to leave that to other women, which I think is a logically inconsistent and ridiculous stance here. But they don't even accept that anymore. They say, no, unless you're championing it, unless you #shout your abortion, you're a misogynist. But I want to go back to the actual Women's March. So apparently they are going to schedule another Women's March this coming January, I believe around the first anniversary of Trump's inauguration here. This was something that they bragged happened in 81 different countries around the world. They told us it was 5 million women who were standing up to the patriarchy worldwide. So why don't they organize this same march? Why don't they do it a couple weeks early? Why don't they bring these women back out on the streets to give these Iranian women some encouragement to say, listen, That is the ultimate patriarchy, where you can't travel outside the country without your husband's permission, where your father can marry you off at 13 years old to a man who has other wives, where marital rape is essentially legal, where you're forced to wear a hijab. Why don't they organize a march, get out there on the streets and say, listen, we stand with you, keep doing your thing?
Well, and if you remember, the Women's March was never about Trump, right? That's how it was originally labeled. It was just standing up to the patriarchy and fighting for rights of all women. And so, yes, again, they're going to take their pink pussycat hats and march on the streets. For what, I'm not sure, because they definitely aren't marching. If they really had courage, Liz, they would take a plane over to Iran and support those women as they remove their hijabs and stand up to the true Islamic theocracy, the patriarchy in Iran, and stand in solidarity with their sisters, the Iranian sisters. But that's not their goal. They are using women as political pawns. Their board of the Women's March is made up of anti-Semites, communists, and Marxists. So women are being misled and led down the road to what I would consider serfdom.
Right. It's almost comical. It's hilarious in a sense that they've just added another category of women that they don't think are good enough women. They don't include them in this championing all women. First we had pro-life women, then we had Christian women, then conservative women, any woman who voted for Donald Trump, any woman who supports the free market and capitalism, any woman who champions individual liberty, and now we have Iranian women. I'm sure that I'm missing any woman who champions the Second Amendment or thinks that we do have a right to bear arms and protect ourselves, that we should say not me instead of me too. All these women they keep adding to their list as women who are not good enough to be part of their march, and now apparently these oppressed women may fit that category too. It's ridiculous. Megan, thanks for coming on the show. You have 1 minute to tweet me at Liz_Wheeler before we're back with Kevin O'Brien. California has become the latest state to legalize recreational marijuana. Just this morning driving to work, I saw a group of homeless people on the corner smoking weed in a giant cloud of smoke as they begged for money. The question, is legalizing pot a good thing or is it a bad thing? We'll see you for that in a moment.